Hi, welcome to Third Space Live. I'm Jody Peel, and this is a show that offers conversations, stories, and ideas around mental wellness. Today, we're going to be speaking with Jennifer Robins of Launch Kelowna, all about understanding our emotions around money. But before we begin, I will remind you can learn all about our charity and our programs and services on our website, thirdspacecanada.org. You can follow us on Facebook or Instagram and view previous recordings on IGTV and YouTube. So to introduce you to the topic today, statistics show that financial stress can negatively impact our mental health. That makes sense because I stress a lot about money. By exploring our relationship with money and our emotions surrounding it, Jennifer is going to suggest that we can move towards building better financial literacy and practices resulting in stronger financial health and ultimately better mental health. Jennifer will then walk us through practical ways to reduce stress caused by financial uncertainty as well. Today's June 22nd, 2020. This is episode 24, and I'm going to introduce you to Jennifer in a moment, but first let you know that she is the executive director of Launch Community Development Foundation here in Kelowna, British Columbia. She previously spent over 15 years with CIBC, first as a business advisor and then as the general manager of the Okanagan, supporting financial advisors and business financial advisors in our region. So welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. All right, we had agreed that I'm going to throw out a pretty daunting number to get this conversation going. A recent survey indicated that 27% of Canadians, they're the greatest contributor to their mental health status right now is their fear of the financial impact from the COVID-19 pandemic. That's shocking, but you're going to tell us why it's even more shocking than we realize.
Yeah, Canadians are worrying about that more than their own health or the well-being of family members. I think it's just great we're able to have this conversation today. But I first want to say that it's really important when looking at financial wellness to have a lot of empathy for what people are going through right now. So everybody's situation is different, but it definitely helps to talk about it. So a couple of factors I think are causing people to have extra anxiety about money right now. What we know pre-COVID-19 was that in general, Canadians' debt levels were high and our rate of savings was actually quite low. So any of the people writing about finances pre-COVID-19, you can just go back and look through some of the most popular articles. There was all a little bit of a warning in there that we weren't really prepared for a financial misstep. So I think that's kind of how we got set up. And then all of a sudden overnight, many people lost employment. Their income was reduced dramatically. So we were in a situation trying to prioritize bills, not having the same type of income, and then not even the same type of social supports to help us get through all of that. We couldn't see people we would normally sit down and talk to, our closest friends maybe to help us get through this difficult time. So I think there was a lot of factors that really got us to this point. The question is, where do we go from here and how do we make the situation better?
Definitely, and you made me think about all the planning that if you ever work with a financial planner or you work within a business to do risk planning around weathering a potential storm, we really haven't seen it. I guess the last time we saw something 2008 and then before that the 80s, but this is a major situation that most of us haven't lived through before. So if we didn't do the planning, we're feeling it.
Yeah, we haven't lived through it before. And typically, I mean, we're not that comfortable talking about money. So when there is challenges, as a whole, most people, that's still a taboo topic. So, regardless of income, people can go through some very difficult times, and it helps to have a support network or just to be able to talk about it. And as Canadians, we don't do that. So that can build anxiety, that can create feelings of being overwhelmed and out of control. So
And to have
launch.
that conversation, you need to have some sort of financial literacy as well, right?
Yes, exactly.
Tell us
So,
about
and
that.
so Launch's goal is to help people have a greater awareness of financial literacy. So financial literacy is not just about having the knowledge. So knowing, about should I invest in an RRSP or a TFSA, or how much do I need to have in an emergency savings fund? It's more than that. It's about developing the skills that you need. So do you know how to create a budget? Do you know how to bring that budget to life and manage things on a daily or monthly basis? And then finally, the last piece of financial literacy is having confidence. Having the confidence to make the right decisions for you and your family. So if you don't have the knowledge, you don't know where to go to get the knowledge or the help and support, you're not sure about how to, that you have all the skills you need to do the planning for yourself, then that leaves you feeling like, okay, where do I turn for help? And you're not going to have that confidence. And what I've seen is through some of our programs, when people get the skills and they know how to make good decisions for themselves, their confidence builds. And it's not just in financial literacy. I've seen that confidence spill over into other areas of their life as well. The other part of financial literacy is knowing what financial products are right for you, and just to be able to know where to go for help. So Launch is one resource, and we're here to help people. Oftentimes people have got great relationships with their bank or credit union, a financial advisor. All those resources right now are very important to help people get through this unprecedented time. But I look at anything in that even when you're going through something very difficult, there's often a silver lining, or there's often something that you learn from the experience. So the one thing I hope as Canadians that we learn from this is we need to be better prepared. So having an emergency fund is really critical, not just because of COVID-19, but there are other events that can happen. Job loss can occur obviously at any time. Are we in a situation where we can get through that? We need to be aware of our debt levels and make sure that we don't have too much debt taken on, so that, again, if we had a bump in the road, that we can still make our debt payments, we're still saving for our future, and we have an emergency fund set aside. So I think a lot of us will probably come out of this doing things differently going forward.
Well, I hear you saying and in our pre-show talk, it's an opportunity to learn new skills right now, so that you can prevent or protect yourself as best as you can for any future issues that may arise in your life. And it also, by learning skills right now, can make you feel a little bit more empowered with the financial stress that's going on for you right now, because you can feel like you're actually doing something to help. That was one of the things we spoke about before the show, that I thought would be really helpful for our viewers, is that, sorry for that, would be that, yeah, feeling like you're actually getting a handle on it will be really helpful, even if you're in a bad place right now, because we don't want to be back where we were before COVID-19, which was some of the stats you provided to me was Stats Canada said that Canadians owe $1.76 for every dollar of disposable income they have. And we have high debt levels and we don't save. Tell us more about that.
So back in the 80s, actually, the savings percentage, like how much of your income you were saving, was closer to 20%. And then over the past few years, it was anywhere, I mean, it fluctuates, but it was anywhere from just under 1% to around 2%. And then interestingly enough, it jumped up to close to 6% in January. So maybe people started putting a little bit more aside, seeing what was coming around the corner. But I think, part of the learning from all this too is not just the skills, and we'll talk a little bit more about budgeting, because I really do believe that's at the core of financial wellness, but it's also looking at our behaviors. So it doesn't take long to look at your, Instagram feed or the marketing that's constantly coming in your inbox to realize consumerism is really at an all-time high. And from my discussions with people over the few months where everybody was staying at home, what a lot of people noticed was they just weren't spending. So they all of a sudden, if you were lucky enough to still be employed and still be earning an income, a big proportion of your income wasn't being spent in the same way. So I think it makes us reevaluate back to that fundamental, what's a need and what's a want. And, if we're trying to achieve financial goals for ourselves, like save for a vacation, maybe a fun goal, or, save for retirement down the road, or just to have an emergency fund, you really have to go back to the basics of, where's my money going every month? And does it reflect my values? Because if it doesn't, then I think it's time to reevaluate that. Or, when I go into a store, am I constantly impulse spending, right? Am I that person that gets sucked into whatever's on the display next to the cash? There's lots of different ways that we spend our money sometimes that, I don't know, I think this just makes us reevaluate that and hopefully go back to those basics. And budgeting is really a big part of those basics. So I feel like, I don't know how you feel, but in our discussions in our classes, budgeting is not always a word that people like. It's a bit of a, that's a negative word for me. There's negative connotations.
Sure. Doesn't sound very fun.
Yeah, no. And a lot of people look at budgeting as a way of restricting fun. So I don't believe that at all. I believe that once you get budgeting, it's all about taking control. So when people are in control of their finances, or I guess any part of your life, having the control reduces the anxiety. It reduces that stress. You know where you're going, you know your current financial situation, and then you can just relax. Even if the situation isn't where you want it to be, it's still a lot less anxiety involved than putting your head in the sand and hoping for the best.
So the budget, the example of the impulse buyer that can't afford to be impulse buying. It's such a toxic circle that you get that little buzz when you buy it. Mm-hmm. But you have this dread that grows, and then fear because you shouldn't have done it. And that's being out of control. As opposed to saying, I don't need to be walking around the shopping center if I can't afford to be shopping right now. Or, hey, this isn't in my budget. So it's an easy decision. It's a no, I can't afford that right now. And that feels good. It does feel uncomfortable for a second. Oh, jeepers, I really want that. But then you walk away feeling empowered and stronger and in control. That's kind of what you're getting at, right?
Absolutely. About making decisions, and being comfortable saying, I can't afford that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you read the book, The Wealthy Barber. It's one of my all-time favorites. David Chilton's a Canadian author, and he wrote a newer book, I think a few years ago, just about personal finance. And one of the things he said was, the four most powerful words that you can say out loud is, I can't afford that. So being comfortable to say that when someone invites you to do something or go somewhere, or, buy tickets to a concert that you can't afford, it's actually, you wouldn't think it, but it is really empowering, taking the ownership and saying, I can't afford that. And if you have a budget, you know what you can afford. Right. And you know what you can't afford, and you budget in some fun. So I don't personally believe it's a budget unless you have something built in there that you're going to enjoy. So an example, if you really like to eat out and you budget in, X number of dollars a month to do that, then you know that you can go for dinner. Maybe it's once a month is what you can afford. You're going to enjoy that experience so much more knowing that you can afford it. Right? It's part of the money that is coming in every month. You're putting a part of it aside to go out to eat. You enjoy doing that, and you can do that guilt-free. Mm-hmm. In our sessions, we talk a lot about the emotions of money, and we always encourage people, just like, when you think about the emotions of money, what emotions come up? And often guilt is a big part of that. Every now and then we'll get some positive words associated with the feelings, like excitement, or, there's some energy there. But I think for the most part, people have these feelings of of guilt or uncertainty. And if you do any reading about the psychology of money, a lot of that goes back to when we were younger. So understanding how your parents felt about money, understanding what you have been taught or not taught about money. So it's not just simple as what you think today. There's a lot of history that comes in, like a lot of things in life, but money in particular, there's a lot of history there. So you have to acknowledge those feelings and that history if you want to move forward. And that could be even the feelings around budgeting, and that's a way of controlling, and I don't want to be controlled, which is interesting because it's actually putting you in the driver's seat and you're the one in control, not the budget, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that was one of my takeaways from the pre-show prep with you, is that that's the irony of it all. By budgeting, knowing where you're at any moment, what you can afford, what you're working towards in terms of your bigger goals, it's a really liberating thing, and it makes navigating your life way easier.
Yeah, and it allows you to have those goals. So it's really hard to create goals and work towards them if you don't have a plan. So you can consider your budget as your plan. And then it, really allows you to dream a little bit too. So if there's something you want to do or something you want to buy, and you can set up a savings plan to do that, which is easy now more than ever. You can have a savings account set up online in a couple of minutes. Set up your automatic transfer after you get your paycheck, the idea of paying yourself first. And you can see that grow every paycheck, every month. And then that's a really rewarding feeling to be able to use those funds to fund whatever it is that you want to do.
And it also gives you a feeling when you decide, hey, I can't afford this thing, I'm not going to buy it right now. Then you end up feeling like you're working towards your goal. It's not, oh, disappointment because I can't buy this thing or buy these concert tickets. It's like, wow, I'm that much further towards this goal. That's really what's really important to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's important to you is going to be different than what's important to someone else. So it's necessary to take that time and reflect on, what are my values with money? What are my goals? And when do I want to achieve them? The best piece of advice, well, one of the best tips, I guess, that I could give someone is set a reoccurring appointment with yourself on the first of every month. So if you sit down at the beginning of every month, if your budget needs to be tweaked a little bit for that month because of something that's coming up, great. But for the most part, once you get your budget set up, you should be able to roll with that. But on the first of the month, you go in and you look at, how much do I have in my savings accounts or my investment accounts? How much do I owe in credit? And you write it down somewhere, however you want to write it down. Fancy spreadsheet, piece of paper, it doesn't matter. You just put it down. And then a month later, you come back and you do the same thing. So why you do that is it's very, I would argue it's even a little bit addictive once you start it, because you can see progress. So if it's your goal to pay off your credit card and you're making a step forward with that every single month, and even if you're putting, $10 a paycheck aside in your savings account, every single month when you sit down, your savings are going to be a little higher, your credit card balance is going to be a little bit lower. And if you need the incentive to keep you on track, that behavior alone will keep you on track. And you have to do it to believe it. And then I think once you start, the first of the month is a great time to do it. Then you will keep doing it. And then you'll find another savings goal that you want to start perhaps. And the online banking options now are so great that you can have multiple savings accounts. And you can go into your online banking and name them all. So that was a really neat feature. So instead of having all these account numbers, you can rename them right on your online banking and go emergency fund, vacation fund, I want to buy a new computer fund, like whatever it is that you're saving for. And then every time you go in your online banking, it's also encouraging to log on and go, oh, look at that. That's more than, 3 days ago when I went in there.
And there's lots of great tools
easy
as well, right? There's great tools that you can use, tons of apps, lots of other things you can do to make your day-to-day budgeting easier.
Oh, the apps are excellent. That's one thing that I've gotten into myself maybe in the past 4 or 5 months, and it's made such a huge difference. I like spreadsheets, I like paper, but the app was a a real big game changer because you have your phone with you everywhere you go. So there's lots of free apps out there. I personally like the ones that you have to input your spending, so it doesn't do it for you. You have to do it. So you have to acknowledge if you've gone out and bought something, you have to actually input it into your app. It's super quick, super easy to do. And at any point in time, so if you're trying to save money on your groceries, let's say, that's a common one where people can find savings. So if you've got your goal set up for the month and you're inputting all your grocery bills as you go along throughout the month, you open your app and you can see where you're at. You know, have you reached your limit for spending? Is there, you know, are you over budget, under budget? It really helps you stay on track.
Yeah, and I think the next part of that too is what you talked about right at the beginning, that we're not good at having conversations around money. It's uncomfortable. We're not socialized to do that. So part of being able to budget is to be able to be open and honest with people you're with. So you have to be able to tell that friend, hey, I can't go to that music festival with you. It's just, I can't afford it. Talk to us about why that's tough and ways that we can work on making that a little bit easier to have those conversations.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of research that gets done in that area. And maybe it's the old concept of like keeping up with the Joneses, and everybody wants to be seen in a, you know, in a certain light. And it's hard to say no to things, like in general, not just from that perspective, but if, you know, I think it's very empowering when you can say no and explain it and just own that. But if we're not comfortable talking about money to begin with, it's going to be really uncomfortable to say, I can't afford that, because what does that mean, right? Are you going through a challenging time? I know a lot of people that have been through our programs, if you ask them initially, they would say, if I just made more money, it would be okay, you know?
And it never is.
And it just isn't. Like, the research doesn't support that. Typically, the more you make, the more you want. You know, the more you make, the more credit that you have. It's pretty complex. It's not as simple as if I just made more, all these problems would disappear. It's not about how much you make. It's about how you spend the money that you make. And I mean, what's been really interesting spending, you know, 15 years in banking is you meet clients with so many different backgrounds and experiences. And I mean, I've seen that firsthand, that people that, you know, if you gave someone the number and said, well, this is how much income this person makes, you know, if you ask 10 people, they would all say, yeah, I don't think they've probably saved that much, or on that income, that would be difficult. And then you could show them a much higher income and say, now what about this person? I've seen so many cases where someone on a lower income is in a much better financial position than someone with a higher income. So it's not that simple to say, well, if I make more, then I'll save more. It can almost go against you sometimes.
I find that
people believe that, I don't think, if you ask them. So
it's true. And all that you just said has been, in my experience, has been something I've noticed. I think too, just like any other honest or authentic conversation you have with people in your life, that it also is a powerful thing for them as well, because it gives them permission to be open and honest, whether you're talking about mental health or you're talking about your financial situation, because they're both can be touchy situations, you know, in our culture. And I think a lot of people are relieved. I've seen it happen before when someone says, hey, I'd love to do that with you, it's not in the budget or whatever. Someone else will be like, oh yeah, me too. Like, they're relieved. Yeah. They're relieved, right? And so you have to be brave. But usually once you have that first conversation with friends, or you share with them, hey, I'm saving right now because I'm saving up for this great holiday, or I'm saving for this new computer or whatever, people will be more apt to, it won't be uncomfortable anymore. And they'll also maybe just assume that that's not something in your budget, and it just won't be an issue anymore.
Yeah, and that's a positive spin, right? It's like, I can't do this because I'm doing this, and this is what's important to me, right? It's more important for me to take this vacation or go and visit my family. So if I spent all this money on that concert tickets, then that's not going to be possible for me.
Or I'd love to go out to that restaurant, expensive restaurant with you, but hey, how do you guys feel about doing a potluck in the backyard? Or, I've always had lots of people in my life from complete ends of the spectrum in terms of what their financial means are. And I've yet to be in a situation where someone makes a suggestion like that, like, hey, why don't we just do it lower key? Why don't we just have a barbecue or whatever? Nobody ever says, no, I want to go to the fancy restaurant.
Yeah, no.
It just doesn't happen. So yeah, I think people just have to put it out there. And most people, in my experience, are really easygoing with that.
Yeah, it's interesting you say about the fact that other people will be relieved, because I have a group of friends that I've known since I was very young, and we were planning on doing something together, and it was going to be expensive, and I just said to them at one point, like, this is not going to work right now for me. So I understand if you want to go ahead, but I really can't fit that in my budget right now. And everybody, like a group of 6 women, and everyone was like, yeah, it's not the right time for me either. And so sometimes it just takes that one person to bring it up. Another one I know people get overwhelmed with sometimes is gifts. So if you've got a close friend, I don't know about you, but I would much rather spend time with someone than to receive a present or a gift. Like, the time is worth so much more to me, especially, when you're busy with work and kids and family, and just to have that one-on-one time with a friend, that doesn't have to cost a lot.
The other thing that I've appreciated getting from friends, even when I was younger, was a thoughtful, nice note.
Yes.
Of why they value you as a friend. I mean, to me, that's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. So there's lots of different ways you can look at your budget with, like, okay, how do I make this better? How do I reduce some of my expenses? But honestly, you can't figure out where to reduce unless you track it. So you won't know if someone said, well, how much are you spending in gifts every year? I'm not really sure. I don't have that written down anywhere. So until you start tracking it, then you won't know where you can find those savings. For one person, it might be gifts. For another, it might be, in the food budget or eating out. Could be going for lunch all the time near your place of work. You look at that and you think, oh my gosh, what does that equal in a run of a month? Times that by 12. Kids' birthday parties. So I have a 4 and a 6-year-old. So this birthday party business is pretty new to me still. But a friend of mine gave me this great idea. And it's not a new idea. I hear lots of people do it. But the kids bring like $5 to a birthday party. So if you are hosting the party, you put the note out there to other parents, say, hey, we'd love your child to come to the party, but really no gifts. We've got tons of toys in our house. We don't need more. But if you'd like to bring something, how about, a toonie or a $5 bill? So we've been doing this since our kids had a party. So I guess since they were 2. And then we take the money and they get to buy a toy with it. So one thing comes into our house versus a whole bunch. But you can take that a step further, which we've done as well, and said, okay, here's the pot of money. Half of it can go towards buying a toy and half of it we're going to donate. So and you'd be surprised, you can do that with a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old, have the conversation about who could we help. And then you bring your children into the charity, like set up an appointment and donate the money. And my kids talked about that for weeks after the fact. I don't know if they fully understand it, but it's just trying to set that expectation that you were fortunate, you got these gifts for your birthday, you get to have an amazing toy that you're excited about, but we're also going to try and give back and do something great with this money, and you're going to be a part of it and you're going to help deliver it. So I think that comes back to values.
So great. And I know that you're also teaching moderation around consumption. I love that with your birthday party idea, because you're right. It's almost obscene how much a lot of our kids are gifted, whether it's their birthday or Christmas or whatever. And as parents, it's a good idea to think about modeling responsible consumption based on the state of our planet. And I love the idea of building in always thinking about others less fortunate and making, donating to worthy causes part of their lives from the very get-go, because we need that in our community all the time. It's critical. And if you're not used to doing it at home when you grow up, it's not as easy, natural for you to do it when you get older, right? It
Absolutely.
builds empathy. It does so many amazing things. I know that one of the things we used to do as a family is, and that's another thing, some people donate on behalf as a gift of someone, whether it's a wedding gift or birthday gift. That's also a really nice gift. But we always sat down with one of the, when my kids were really little, one of the catalogs for donation, either online or in paper. You know, we used to call them the goat catalog, because you could buy a chicken for a family, or contribute to a well for fresh water for a family in a developing nation, for example. Yeah, those are actually really fun for kids too. That's the piece that people don't get. Like, kids don't really understand that there's a certain amount of kids at their party and they should get a certain amount of loot. They're not even in that mindset, right?
Yeah.
For them to sit down and decide how they're going to help somebody in a different part of the world is actually really fun. So you're not taking anything away from them by doing some of these things. It's actually a value added for the kid too.
But that goes back to the values, right? So what were your values with money growing up? And then what are your values today? And how do you want those values brought to life for your children? So if you're getting birthday money, you can start really young, going, here's your piggy bank, you know, we'll save a little bit, put some dollars in here. We're going to donate a little bit, and then you get to enjoy something out of your money too. So, you know, if that's your value system, then I think it's really important to start that early. Yeah, I don't know, maybe my kids will be telling me when I'm older that, you know, we took part of their birthday money and donated it, but I don't think so. I think it's also something that it's important to my husband and I too. So I think when you're donating and being charitable in any way, shape, or form to encourage your kids to do the same thing is just amazing. Yep. And then they can look outside and see other people in the community that might need a little bit of extra help.
It also makes you more grateful and thankful for what you have. So it changes your mindset to a mindset of abundance, that, wow, we're so fortunate, as opposed to, oh, I want that, I don't have that. It's just a shift that happens through being generous.
Yeah, and I think that's a shift that for a lot of people would help as well with financial wellness, is looking at that perspective of what you have versus not what you want, because it's so easy with, you know, being the marketing that we see and the lifestyles that we see to go, oh, I want all these things. But I think the people that have the best financial wellness are ones, like you said, that appreciate what they have and aren't as concerned about, you know, what other people are doing with their money. So when you know yourself, what's important to you, you know, that builds financial wellness. When you are in control and you have a clear plan in place and you know where every dollar of your money is going, that builds the financial wellness. And then being able to be excited about the future and goals that you have, working towards those goals, that sense of accomplishment over time, that builds financial wellness. But it's a process. It's not something you can just wake up one morning, and if you've got some challenges with your finances, you're not going to solve that overnight. So it requires discipline, it requires patience, and that's where it's nice to have someone who's on that journey with you as well. So we love it when people come join our program with a friend, like a spouse, and you're working towards something together. It makes it so much easier to stay on track when you've got someone there by your side encouraging you.
Yeah, it's important to stress a few of those points, that if you're not in a place you want to be right now, it's not going to change. You have to actually invest in learning some skills to make it change. And groups like Launch Kelowna can help you do that. You can build those skills. It's not a scary big monster. It's something that someone can hold your hand through and make this. It's very possible and doable for everybody, but it's not going to change unless you do it. It's like sitting around wishing you were in better shape or you weighed a healthier weight. It's not going to happen magically. You have to go out and make it happen. So it does take some discipline for sure.
And baby steps, right? You know, you don't have to feel like you need to overhaul everything all at once. It's just making those positive steps. And we can see that too in groups. We'll be talking about one financial topic, and then the next week everybody will come back and be like, oh, I went and opened up a savings account last week, or, oh, I went and called my credit card company to talk about what my options were and what my actual rate was. And so it's those little tiny things that just build over time that can make a really big difference. Or I downloaded that app you were talking about and, you know, started inputting all my expenses. So it's the little wins along the way that can make a really big difference over time.
So why don't you end our talk today to tell us a little bit more about your organization and some of the opportunities for people in our community to learn more?
Yes, I would love to do that. So Launch is a local charity. We've actually been around for just about 10 years now. And our whole mission is to help people feel empowered. I think that's the word that comes up the most. So empowerment and hope for their future. And we do that by, you know, helping people with their financial knowledge, with their skills, and just building confidence. So historically, our programs have all run face-to-face. So you can imagine back at the beginning of March, my calendar was full right out to the end of June. And within 48 hours, my calendar was empty because everything we did was face-to-face. So I guess all of this has provided Launch with an opportunity to help more people because we have started transitioning our programs online. So what I love about that is it can really reduce barriers for people. So if transportation's an issue, if you've got young children, childcare can be a challenge, you can now join some of our programs online and learn from the comfort of your home. So the one program that's open to everybody is called Dollars and Cents. And we run that anywhere from 6 to 8 meetings. And we cover off all the different topics of financial literacy. So banking, budgeting, credit, savings, but we always start with the emotions of money and just recognize kind of where we're all coming from. So like I said, that program's available to anyone. We've started running it online, and I'm really excited about being able to help more people in the Okanagan, because now it doesn't matter how far away you are from the classroom. You can join us if you're in Vernon, you can join us if you're in Penticton quite easily.
Now, what's the website that people can learn more about that program?
launchkelowna.ca. So, and you can contact us through that website or just email myself at jennifer@launchkelowna.ca. And we have a really special program in addition to Dollars and Cents that's called Matched Savings. So our Matched Savings program runs for a year. Participants have to apply. We do confirm income, so the income has to be below a certain threshold. I'm happy to provide that information for anyone who wants more information on that. And then you attend a meeting once a month, and we have a different financial topic every month. And the participants save from $25 to $50 of their own money every month. So at the end of the 12 months, if you're saving $50 a month, you've got $600 in a savings account. So what Launch does is we match that 3 to 1. So if you save $600, we have a grant of $1,800. So now our participants have $2,400 to help them move forward in life. So things we would approve would be an RESP contribution for their child. You can pay for your own education if you want to go back to school and upgrade or take a course. Anyone that has a small business, the funds can be used towards their small business or starting one. Tools for a trade. Basically, we want people to take the money, invest it in themselves so that they can take a step forward in their life. And in particular, I really have become quite passionate about the RESP as an option, and the RDSP, I should say as well, the Disability Savings Program, because the government grants that are available when you save in an RESP or an RDSP just multiplies the money that you're investing. So you save your money, Launch provides you with a grant, it goes in those accounts, the government grant money also comes into play. And you're really saving for the long term, and what better gift to give your child. So we're really excited about the matched savings because of the fact it is over a year. It really allows people to make changes slowly, to see the benefit of saving every single month when they're putting their own money into their savings account, and then their savings being multiplied by the launch grant. And we've been running that for, I think, just about 10 years.
So it's great because the person gets to build new habits over the long term in a supported way. So it will be a game changer, because after a year of doing something like that, you're not going to go backwards. You're going to continue to use those tools. That's great.
Yeah, it builds the confidence. And if you've never saved before, you've just shown yourself that you can. And hopefully the $2,400 will be used for something that, you can take that step forward, and you're investing in yourself or investing in your children, that, that's going to help. But really the biggest change that I see from people in that program is it's the confidence piece. So the money is great. The grant is excellent. It's exciting. You can really invest it in yourself, but it's the behavioral shift. It's the confidence, the hope for the future. That's where I see the real benefit of the program.
Right. And that's building financial health and mental wellness, which is what the show's all about. So
Absolutely.
We're running out of time. I'd love for you to wrap it up. Canadians are struggling right now. People have a lot of stress around money right now. Tell us what you need to tell us about that, and then we'll say goodbye.
Okay, sounds good. Well, like I said at the beginning, I think it's important to be empathetic and to understand as best you can where others are coming from, and start the conversation. So if you're challenged and you're feeling anxiety right now, and you've got a friend or a family member you can talk to, start that discussion. If you're married or have a partner in life, start that discussion so that you can be on the same page together. And like any difficult time that people go through, it's a chance to evaluate, this is what I did before, this is where we are now, what do I want to do differently going forward? So what are the changes in behaviors? What gaps do I have? If I don't know where to turn for help, or I don't have enough of the knowledge and skills that I want, where can you go to get those? So Launch Kelowna is definitely one place you can come. Register on our website or send me an email, and I can help point you in the right direction. Because investing in yourself, investing in your education is going to make all the difference going forward. And it doesn't matter if you're 18 years old, if you're 68 years old, the age doesn't matter. You can make those positive changes at any point in your life, regain that sense of control. And then you can focus on other areas of your life. Money won't be this overwhelming, emotion that it's just hard to deal with. You don't want that feeling of anxiety every day. So if you can start taking those steps in the right direction, you can make most of that go away and regain that control again. And we are definitely here to help.
Great advice. Thank you so much, Jennifer. So many great ideas and suggestions. And I think everybody's going to benefit who watched the show today. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay, everybody, thanks for coming and watching our show today. I'll remind you to stay tuned with Third Space Charity on Instagram and Facebook for future shows. And you can learn more about Launch Kelowna at launchkelowna.ca. Hope to see you again soon. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day. Bye for now. Bye, Jennifer.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.